All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, April 22nd. We got 3 NBA playoff games to jump into in today's video. Like we always do, when we go through each and every one of these games, I'll give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about all of the games and any other plays that I'm looking at within the game, like player props as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment of today's video. That is where all of my final plays will live. So when I'm actually rolling with myself. Now, I lied to you. I said today is April 22nd. When I'm recording this, it's actually April 21st. Some of you guys might know, but if you're not aware, at the time of you guys watching this, I'm probably on a plane to a vacation. So we recorded this a little bit early, so I don't have a recap from last night. We do have our ride of the day submitted, though, so we're doing this ahead of time. We don't know if Classic hits his 4th win in a row or if the streak comes up short, so we'll do both things. There's the celebration if Classic does hit it, and then rewind. There's the womp womp if he doesn't. Here's the hope in Classic you hit it. It's actually a show first that we've ever gotten the ride of the day ahead of time so that we can record ahead of time. So you know what? Win or loss, you get the shout out. Appreciate you, and hopefully we continue the ride of the day if you hit it. But guys, if you don't know what the ride of the day is, all you gotta use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Jumping on board with one person's pick, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with you. But yeah, we are recording this the day before April 22nd, so we don't know how we did yesterday. In fact, all of our final plays aren't even final yet. Like, we're really trying to get ahead of things, and I don't want to miss a day here during the playoffs. So with that being said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you appreciate the grind of doing our best to get this out beforehand. But let's jump into game number 1 here. We got the Cavs taking on the Magic. So this series is going according to plan, according to us, right? We had Cavs minus the points in game number 1. They win that one 97-83. I did lean towards the over, didn't make it a final play. That certainly did not come through. And in fact, we can start with the total today. Just using last game, and I feel like game 2 of playoffs, Game 2 and Game 3s are very, very tough to bet because Game 2 especially, you want to say, oh, well, it's either going to go exactly like the first game went, or it flips on its head and does the exact opposite, right? Like it's either black or white. There's no gray area, which makes it a tough betting sort of situation. But I do think we saw some consistency out of both teams in terms of what we saw, right? Highly elevated sort of defensive presence. The transition wasn't working all that well, for either team. And a decent amount of missed shots, to be completely honest, too, which would lead into that defense. So it's nothing that we haven't seen from either one of these teams. So starting with the total, it's down at 203. I probably don't pull the trigger on it, but I'd lean towards the total again, going under, just due to the fact that we saw a 97-83 game in game number 1. Even if Orlando comes to play a little bit more offensive, and that's like a 97-97 game, right? Like, we're still not cashing it over there. So until I see some fast-paced basketball, like, honestly, like I maybe expected in game number 1, until we see something like that, I'm not pulling the trigger on an over here. So give me the under in terms of my first lean. From a spread perspective, I'd like to get this and see where this line goes. I'd love to get it at like Cavs -4. It looks like the books are just not giving any sort of respect to Orlando in terms of being able to bounce back from a spot like that and everything, based on what we saw, being able to change up what happened. And no major injuries, obviously, in either one of these organizations here. But yeah, this went from +5.5, right? And then I think it even moved up to 6 and then came back down to 5.5. So the books are really thinking that this is one, a sharp line, and 2, that Cleveland's probably sitting right around a 6-point victory here. And I don't disagree. They are the better team, especially when they're firing. Like, I don't mean to be mean to you Magic fans out there, but if you looked at either one of these teams and said pick one that could be happy to be there in the first place, it's probably Orlando. Bright future ahead for Orlando here. Getting into the playoffs as a 5 seed is like quite the feat itself. So I'm going to lean towards the Cavs here, minus the 5.5 points. I just don't see how things switch up for the better necessarily in game number 2 here. So we'll see. And then in terms of player props, I'm going to go right back to something that we missed out on in game number 1, but it sure as hell came down to being a sweat. We're looking at Darius Garland over 23.5 points plus assists for +100 odds. We pulled the trigger on a game number 1. He finished at 22. Now, I mentioned in my recap of, today's video, but yesterday's video for you guys, like, that was kind of lucky. He did not have it going all game. He had 14 points and 8 assists there. I don't necessarily think that he goes and only shoots 11 times again. This is a guy that should be able to dominate the pick and and roll, which he had a fair share of good spots there, and that's why he got so many assists. But now if the Magic change how they play that pick and roll, I think we are going to have some issues for them in terms of covering Darius Garland, because he's happy to score off those pick and rolls. Like I told you in the last video, 30+% of his points come from pick and roll ball handling. So yes, Allen and Mobley benefited from that in game number 1, but I do think that this is a good spot for him to hammer it home in game number 2. And again, that was the first time this season, actually, since he's played the Magic, in the last 6 times that he came up just shy. And all the other times he shot more times and had more potential assists. Or no, I think he had plenty of potential assists yesterday. We don't have that feeding in yet. Again, we're recording this early, but I just expect his scoring to be better. And if he has one more bucket yesterday, we're looking at a cash. Do you know what I mean? So Darius Garland for plus money, plus 100 odds over on DraftKings is going to be my first player prop in this spot. I really like it again today. And then with that same thought in mind, Jared Allen over 14.5 points also for plus money. You want to look at this for 13.5? Sure, go for it. I don't know if that's going to matter all that much. I mean, he did have 14 against them, a couple games ago. But if he's going to be the predominant feeder off of these Darius Garland pick and rolls, and we know the Cavs will run those pick and rolls, and it worked in game number 1. He had 16 points, right? Even his rebounds, 16 and 18. If you want to throw him into some sort of a double-double yes for a parlay, I mean, the odds are going to be terrible, but that's also a way that I could see it being, yes for, actually, that's not even that terrible. For yes for double-double, minus 135, that is a mispriced line. We might jump on that right now. All right, so that's going to be a final play. I already locked it in. FanDuel, minus 135, yes, double-double. Look at these other books, minus 170, minus 200. Even if he doesn't get it now, we secured some serious value there. So yeah, that'll be a final play. We'll list it out. But what I was going to say is I don't mind that in some sort of a parlay, because I thought it was going to be minus 170, minus 200. But again, single player prop here. I don't mind his over in points. Again, I think that him and Garland are going to have a little 2-man game, especially they did plenty of that in game 1, but I think that that's going to be still a weakness of this Orlando defense there. So yes, those player props and my leans kind of seem like I'm Cleveland all the way. I do think Cleveland wins this series. So I guess betting Cleveland every game and potentially even those player props could be a profitable strategy, but that's what we have for game number 1 in this spot. Yes, it sounds like I'm Cleveland all the way, but I give Orlando a little bit of credit. I just do think that, there's more of an edge when looking at some Cleveland player props. All right, next up, we got the Knicks taking on the Sixers. This game ended in a win for the Knicks, which we were also right about in the first game, 111-104. It was a faster pace than I thought. It doesn't make me want to flip to the over per se in this spot, but I'm less confident in the under because both teams seem like they're playing good defense and this game still finished at 215, right? So I guess I'm not confident in the under, so I guess by default I'll lean towards the over. What I don't mind is taking a peek at the Sixers here, plus the 5.5 points. You take away that fourth quarter and how the game kind of finished, the Knicks lose this game outright as, what was it, 4.5 point dogs or 3-point dogs, or as 3-point favorites, and Sixers being dogs. So I kind of like the Sixers to bounce back. If we have a series like we have of yesterday where Philadelphia wins the first quarter, Knicks bounce back with the second quarter, Philly wins the third quarter, Knicks bounce back with the fourth, we could have a damn good series on our hands. But for this one, I saw too much out of the Sixers, in which I didn't even think that they played that great of basketball, that they kind of hung in there. Now, you can make the same exact argument that, okay, well, Brunson only gave you 22, right? Maybe that's a spot in which they want more from him, and they didn't play their best basketball. If that's your angle to the Knicks, then fine, because I'm using that same angle for the Sixers. Maxey went for 33, but Embiid he had 29, but had an abysmal game, technically. 8 of 22, 2 of 8 from 3. He got to the line, was it 10, 11, 12 times, something like that. But overall, only 8 boards. Embiid still has more in the tank for sure. He should at least. So I like the Sixers plus the points in this spot. Like I said, the slightest of leans towards the overs. And when I jump into player props here, I'm definitely kind of pivoting from what I did in game number 1. We cashed Tyrese Maxey over 27.5 points plus assists. Well, clearly we were pretty right about that one because they've bumped it to 30.5 due to the fact that he went for 33, right? But I think that the Knicks are going to get give him a little bit more defensive attention now, and I'm looking at his over 5.5 assists. I think there's going to be a lot of dump-off passes, and he had 10 potential assists in that first game there. And if you look at him historically against them, he's averaging over 10 potential assists this year, looking pretty good. So I do think that 6 assists for Maxey, which he closed out the season doing that in 5 of his last 10, but 5 of his last 9 if you want to be specific, right? It could be a decent spot for him just due to the fact that I think they give him a harder time to get to the rim now, and kind of rolls right into my second player prop. Screw it. I'm looking at Joel Embiid over 29.5 points for -105 here. Joel Embiid shot 36% from the field in that game number 1. On the season, he shot 52% from the field. You can't tell me he's going to have another bad game against him. And look at how he's done against the Knicks in his last 5 games. He came up just shy here, but he's gone 30+ in all of the games before that. So give me Embiid's over 29.5. Again, he shot enough 22 times last game, and got to the line 12 times and kind of came up just shy of that number. So I think that he has a bounce back spot in tonight's game. I also wouldn't mind backing a potential for Brunson bounce back, but at that point, it's like Maxey, Embiid, Brunson. Like, am I the squarest guy in the world? Taking all the stars to have, different types of games than they did in the first game. In fact, comment square if you made it this far into the video. I won't take offense to it. But all right, let's move on to the next game. Actually, before we do, I bet you're wondering what is this on my screen as I'm showing it. They have a mobile app for it too, but this is called Outlier. It's my favorite player prop research tool out there. They literally can go through every single player prop offered on the market. You can also do it for games as well, digging into games, seeing what they're offering, some insights as to what Outlier's done mathematically to find some trending plays, that type of thing. So very, very cool tool. I'll have a link in the pinned comment and in the description. You get your first 7 days free. You get a 7-day free trial. It's an absolute no-brainer. And this tool is immaculate. What a great vocab word, immaculate. We were up 64 units this season in the NBA, right? 35 of that was player props, and we used Outlier for the entire NBA season as we just started working with them a little over a year ago. So I think it's worth trying out. Actually, maybe even 2 years at this point we've been working with them. Shout out to Outlier. Go check this out, guys. That link will be in the pinned comment as well as the description. Wherever you find it, just use the link. You get 7 days free. On to the last game of the night. We got the Nuggets taking on the Lakers. And this one went according to plan as well in game number 1. We liked the under. We liked the Nuggets. We didn't pull the trigger or anything, but I feel like I saw everybody and their grandmother on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere being like, Lakers plus the points is free money or free play and all that. Like, it wasn't. Obviously, Lakers started off strong, right? I think that they won that first quarter like 35-25, but then the Nuggets didn't lose a quarter for the rest of the game. So, yeah, I think that this is just a better Nuggets team. The spread's not moving. The total's sitting a little bit lower, but I think that this game number 2 kind of goes just like it did, to be completely honest. And I'm not saying like that to say what's the point of betting it, or, nothing can change. Like, things can change, but I'm still not convinced enough that like we're not going to get value out of looking at the Nuggets in this spot. And our player prop that we like the most too, Jamal Murray over 6.5 assists, that cashed as well. So I hope we have some momentum here and we didn't just get lucky in one game, because I'm kind of running it back. Nuggets minus the points, under the total, and then Jamal Murray. Like, check this out, 3 straight games of double-digit assists against the Lakers here. To close out the year, he was meh against them, right? But we even talked about it. I liked Murray from his PRA line. That wasn't as great of a call. He just barely got over it because he had a rough scoring night. We liked his 3-pointers. That cashed, right? That's another spot that we're going to look at. And I really liked his assists. So Jamal Murray gets up for some of these big games and clearly gets up for some of these games against the Lakers, right? So I think that we might run this back. We're probably going to look for it at 2.5, which he's hitting 8 of his last 12 against the Lakers. From a points perspective, he came up just shy there. From PRA perspective, we did like this as well. He's been cashing that as of late. So maybe, I'm getting greedy here, playing the same thing kind of over and over again. But I don't mind Jamal Murray no matter how you want to play him. If we look at Michael Porter Jr., whose family is just an absolute disarray as of right now, he also is great in this spot. And I like him because if the Lakers try and play in transition, this is going to be your guy. No matter how you want to cut it up, he's looked really good against the Lakers as of late. 3-pointers, but I do like his PRA being able to do everything. I mentioned that in yesterday's video as well. I'm kind of just showing you guys how Outlier can work, right? Also, Aaron Gordon was one of the spots that we liked. Let's see if we can get to head-to-head here. He's cashed it in 4 of his last 5 against them. I didn't mind his points plus rebounds either, which he had double-digit rebounds. So maybe that's another look, because I don't think that they've bumped his lineup as much as it should. So, yeah, I do realize that a lot of these picks and player props that were thrown out there are like whatever team we like, we're focusing on that team for player props, I guess. But sorry, like this is where I'm finding value. I'm not saying I like the Nuggets, so let me only look at Nuggets. No, we're putting everything in a vacuum and trying to find some value. But guys, that is going to wrap for today's show. Again, by the time you're watching, if you're watching it when it first comes out, I am going to be on a plane. So I'll try and keep you guys posted with the pinned comment and everything like that. But as always, make sure you follow me on social media at EvGuyBoston on Twitter, it's right here actually as it pops up, at EvPicks with a Z on Instagram, and then same username for TikTok, only it's 2 Z's for picks. All of those have been flashing here throughout the show, so make sure you guys go and check those out and follow me there, because that's where I can probably best update you. Say my YouTube's not loading on the plane or whatever. Now, you know we're buying that Wi-Fi, but say something happens, Twitter's probably the easiest way that I could put my final plays on there, so make sure you guys are following me there, and yeah, we'll try and get all of our normal videos out even when on vacation, even if we're waking up a little hungover and that type of thing. We'll put in the time and we grind for you guys, so hope you guys appreciate that. We'll catch you in the next one, all right? Peace out.